If you will allow me, I would like to call the July 2018 monthly meeting of the Lenore County Board of Education to order and ask Mr. Harvey if he would give the invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system. And may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of our young people. Amen.
Or if you would, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I know everyone's wondering what's going on. Mr. Sargent has tendered his resignation as the board chair effective this afternoon, and so it's going to be necessary that I conduct the meeting, the opening of the meeting, and we are going to have an election of chairmanship. We have an organizational meeting, organizational of the board, so we're going to have nominations or election of a board chair. So at this time, I will open the floor for nominations.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to nominate Mr. Keith King as chairman.
Okay, we have a nomination of Mr. King as chairman. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All right, so prepared to vote. We've got a nomination and a second for Mr. Keith King to become the board chair effective July 2nd, 2018 through December the 3rd, 2018. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Mr. King is now our board chair.
Thank you. We've got to move.
I'll do a little chair shuffle.
Move further and further out.
This is a good neighborhood.
I like this neighborhood. It's good to see you. Okay. Let's go my water. Pass me the water.
Oh, it's the full one here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. About 3 hours ago, I was at home shucking corn, so this is a little bit of a different situation tonight. But first of all, as chair, I would like to recognize John Sargent, and he may say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to give a little bit of explanation on kind of what's going on tonight. I've been able to have an announcement today that you know, something I'm really proud of. In the court system, you know, we had a judge retire and we had another judge die suddenly, and we've been going through a process where the governor was going to choose someone to fill the district court judge's position. And we were able to announce today that Governor Roy Cooper has selected and appointed me for that position. So. It's really a privilege and an honor to serve as a district court judge. The last few years, especially on this board, I've just really enjoyed being able to serve the public, to serve the people. When this opportunity came up, it was really a chance I can serve the public full time now. And so that was very exciting for me. So in order to try to make a smoother transition, I don't know if I did the right thing in that or not, and I apologize to our board members for putting them through this today. We felt like we needed to go ahead and choose a new chairman right away. I will officially resign the seat, but when I'm appointed and sworn in as a judge, which will be before the next school board meeting. So I expect this will be my last meeting here, which is kind of sad for me, but I do want to say it's been an honor, it's been a privilege to work with all these folks. I'm just very proud of all the progress we've made in the last 4 to 5 years. And I just feel like I've been a part of something really special. And we've got something really special here in Lenore County. And I think these guys here are going to do great. I hope the new board member who takes my position is able to step in and work with everybody else, but we've really got a great administration. The only advice I have for these guys is keep these 3 people here as long as you possibly can, because they're doing a great job for us, and Lenoir County Schools is doing great. So I feel like we're leaving you in good hands, and I won't be too far away. So I want to thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Sargent. I guess our first item of business is the approval of our agenda. I can get a motion.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Second.
We'll take a vote. All those approved, say aye. Raise your hand. Motion carried. I just have a few things to say as part of the board chair comments. I'd like to thank my fellow board members for their support tonight. I'd also like to thank Mr. Sargent for everything that he has done over the last several years. I would say that John is probably one of the main reasons that I am on this board now. He encouraged me to file for the seat that I filed for in District 2. And I've also refiled. I've enjoyed working with Mr. Sargent as well as the other board members. I can't say enough about Mr. Williams, Ms. Herring, Mr. Harvey, what you have done for me in a learning curve, and the support that you give all of us. Our wonderful staff here at the central office, I can always call. I get quick responses and a lot of help. So thank you. And I mean, to all our staff at our schools, our frontline folks, can't say enough about you. You're wonderful people. For those that are not here, I hope they're able to see this on camera, because I truly believe that we have a wonderful school system. You know, I was very fortunate to attend an event a few weeks ago, a banquet for the nutrition department, and they. John got a little emotional. I may do the same, but not a lot of people think about our nutritional department as being educators. But to me, what I saw that day and the pride that those men and women have in what they do, they are as important a part of our school system as the most tenured AP instructor, principal, teacher, custodian, anyone. And they take pride in what they do. So when I say from the nutrition up to Mr. Williams and anyone in between, thank you for what you're doing. I'm here to help. I hope the gentleman up here will join me and continue the success that we've had these last several years. I look forward to a lot of success in the future. So thank you, and I do look forward to being your board chair for the next 6 months. At that. So once again, thank you. And now we're into our announcements. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure tonight to recognize some of our students. For the 6th time in the last 10 years, a team of FFA students from North Lenoir High School has finished first in the state of North Carolina in a competition that gauges students' understanding of the meat processing industry and tests their ability to judge the quality of cuts of meat. The team, Cheyenne Mobley, Zach Jenkins, and Summer West won first place in the Meat Evaluation and Technology event at the recent North Carolina FFA State Conference in Raleigh. As state winners, they will compete at the National FFA Conference in Indianapolis in October. Teams from North Lenoir previously won state championships in this event in 2009, 2011, 2013, 2014, 2016. North Lenoir animal science teacher Reggie Jenkins advises the team at this time. We have 2 of the team members here, Zach Jenkins and Summer West. Zach and Summer, if you would come forward, and Mr. Jenkins, you 2 as well. And I'll ask we have certificates for the students, and if our new board chair and vice chair, Mr. King, Mr. Hill, if you would assist me, please.
This is your party to enjoy.
Picture with it.
Congratulations, proud of you. Summer, congratulations, proud of you. Mr. Deisha, proud of you too. All right, do you guys want to say anything to the board?
We would just like to thank y'all for your support for us.
Pretty excited to go into national competition. You excited about that?
I'm really excited to be able to travel and go to Indianapolis.
And for those here, if you want to see the meat grading, you see the USD meat grading in the grades of meat, beef, chicken, poultry, all that in the grocery store, and you see the grading system. These guys are experts on it.
They still have a lot to learn.
Teacher said they've got a lot more, yes?
Chair?
Please, my report.
Should have traded chairs.
Thank you.
I like this chair.
No public comments tonight? Okay. We will move on into the presentation portion of our agenda. And up first is Ms. Herring.
Good evening. Thank you. This evening we have asked Ms. Jennifer Grubbs, teacher at Pink Hill Elementary School, to join us. Her principal, Ms. Leanne Hardy, is also here. But we've asked Ms. Grubbs to present to the board the extensive outside learning environments that she's developed to support learning and instruction for the students at Pink Hill. The opportunities are expansive and they serve all cohorts of students. It is a comprehensive agricultural program with support from all stakeholders, the community, the school, the students, and teachers. And I will proceed to
As Ms. Grubbs gets started, I'm sure she's going to share this with you, but if she doesn't, I'd like for you to know everything they've done there is grant funded. They've made this happen. Because some people look at what Pink Hill's got and they say, well, why doesn't this school have it or that school have it? This is all grant funded through extra effort of staff, so great job. We invite all of you there to see it.
Well, good evening. Thank you for inviting me today. So we're going to show some pictures and just show you some of the things that we have going on. This picture right here is showing you we have flower beds that an Eagle Scout came and did project for. So we've got K through 5 have their own flower beds that we grow flowers in. Grow them in the greenhouse first and then we plant them in the flower beds.
You're just going to give me the signal to go to the next slide. Is that good? Yeah, that's right. Just like that.
So this is a picture of our greenhouse that we have and the gazebo, which we consider that to be an outdoor classroom. We utilize that to, bring the students together outside, talk to them about what we're going to do, and then we go at it. Go ahead and switch.
And that gazebo you use for the outdoor classroom?
Yes. Yep. So this is just a picture of some of the grow beds that we have. Some of these grow beds were Eagle Scout projects. Some of them were grants. And we just grow a wide variety of different plants here. Here we've got tomatoes and peppers and strawberries in that first part. And we had some carrots. It's just another picture of the outdoor area. So this right here, this is kind of cool. This was a NC Beautiful grant that we received. This back side of our property where the grow beds are in front of was eroding very badly. And so I wrote a grant for this to put in a pathway and some grow beds to stop the erosion. So this is a 164-foot winding pathway that goes behind the greenhouse and back around to the different grow beds. And then on the other side of it is a grow bed that is just about the same length that goes all the way around to the other side. And that was a Farm Bureau grant, I believe, that I received for 3 raised grow beds that we just turned into one big long one to go along the pathway. Another picture of our grow beds, and then as you can see, the little house right there, we have chickens as well on the property, so that is a chicken coop. And there's another picture of the outdoor classroom. This has built up gradually over the 3 years that I've been there. We've added the little flower beds in front and the flowers around the gazebo. Here's a picture of some of our students enjoying some different vegetables from out of the garden. This is a picture inside the greenhouse. This is an aquaponics system that we have. So we have raised goldfish, we've raised tilapia, we're in the process right now of raising catfish. And if you're not familiar with an aquaponics system, what it does is the fish actually provide nutrients for the plants to grow, and the plants in turn clean the water for the fish. So it's a constantly cycling system, and it provides some really good vegetables. We say they're on steroids when they're growing because it's just crazy how quick they grow and what you get out of it. So there's a picture, this was a picture of the goldfish and the tilapia that we had at one point.
So they can live together.
Well, they lived together for a little bit. And the goldfish gradually disappeared over time. That was fun.
It's the cycle of life.
Yes, definitely taught them about the cycle of life. So this is the grow bed, and you can see we've got some different plants in the back one, and then there are these. Now these little ones on this side were some cucumbers that we planted there just to see what they were going to do, and wow, we had some cucumbers come off that majorly. So that was fun. Once again, just showing you how the plants grow in the grow beds. And so here's a big picture of inside the greenhouse. Growing different plants, what we try to do is start in the early part, like February, March, get them planted. The students are involved in all of this. Planting the seeds, we grow every single flower that we have planted at our school, we grow in our greenhouse before we bring them outside. And a lot of the vegetables as well are grown right here and then planted outside once it's time. So these are a picture of some of the different flower beds that the Eagle Scout project that was done at our school.
And the bridge is another Eagle Scout project.
Right. Yep. This was kindergarten. And so here's a picture of some of the students planting some of the flowers that we actually grew. And we involve, every student is involved in our school with this. Everybody comes out and plants. Another picture. This is something that we've just acquired this year. These are rabbits. So we now have rabbits at school, which the students absolutely love. Yes. Well, unless we're in the process of breeding. This is Mr. Chris Radford. This is his project that he wrote a grant for and received. These homes, these hutches are actually built by South Lenoir, by the South Lenoir woodworking class, I guess you would say. And this is another thing that we have new this year, honeybees. So we have honeybees that are on the very back lot of the property, so they're not easily accessible by the students. This is very new to us this year. These came in the spring of this year. We've got the students, and I'll show you a couple pictures in a moment, where the students learned about bees beforehand. And then Mr. Barry Jones, who is part of the Duplin County Bee Association and the Lenoir County, approached us about having bees at our school and offered to be my mentor, my bee mentor. So he provided us with the hive and with the bees for this year. So here's a picture of the students learning about bees in the classroom. Very hands-on, and that's Mr. Jones right there in the background. They came out, so I'm an Encore class, as I'm sure you know, and so I see K through 5, every single class, 5 days a week. they provided a different person every day of the week to sit in our class and sit in our school for the entire day and teach every class that came to my class. So it was pretty cool, and the students really, really enjoyed that. They love putting those V-suits on. This is a picture of our actual bees that we have in our hive this year. This is all new to me too, just so you know. And I went out to school one day after we had first put them in, and the hive had tipped over. We don't know if someone had come up there and done it or if the wind knocked it over, but that was quite fun. Getting my bee suit on and putting the hive back together again. And I have got to say, I have never been stung, so it is good. Just a close-up. If you can see the one that looks different from all the other bees there, that would be the queen bee.
Do we have any honey yet?
We do. We had a problem though because we got too many bees in our hive, and so what happens is they'll usually reserve a tray for honey or for brood, which are their babies. Well, because we had so many in the hive, they were mixing the honey with the brood, so we were not able to harvest it. Hopefully we can get in there maybe by the end of this month. This was a grant. I included this picture because I wanted you to see, you know, there really was no curriculum to go with this class. And so I wrote a grant. This is a Bright Ideas grant that I received, and to purchase this Life Lab science curriculum, which is life, earth, physical science, and it centers around a school garden. So it's all based on having a school garden. So it's been very helpful.
One of the most impressive things is how you and your fellow teachers are integrating the study of science and math and social studies and language arts, integrating that into these projects. These are not standalone side, one and done projects, but it's really helping to support and drive the instruction. And that, I think that's the most impressive part.
It is, and some of the teachers in our school actually have written grants for the outside, for the garden, not for their classrooms in particular, but to go with the outside garden. So it is a team effort at our school to have this and to enhance it. This is cool. This is a project that we do with Bonnie Farms. They have a cabbage growing contest for 3rd grade. Some of you are aware of that. So this was a couple years ago. She grew this cabbage. This one was only, I think, 9 pounds.
Only?
Only, right, but wait till you see the next one.
That was grown at school?
No, they're growing them at home.
Okay, I was going to say, wow.
No, they're growing them at home. Now this one, this gentleman grew this cabbage, 40 pounds this cabbage was. And it's really cool. They get an opportunity to win a grant from Bonnie Farms. They get an opportunity to be featured on their website. So it's fun. It's something that the 3rd graders now look forward to at our school every year.
What do they feed that? What do they feed that? Goldfish.
Yeah. And rabbit droppings. So this picture is just a bunch of our 5th graders a couple years ago enjoying the outdoor classroom. They love it. I mean, they love coming outside and getting to get out of the classroom. It's not the norm that you see at an elementary school. So it's something that they really enjoy. It gives them the opportunity to see growing, gardening from seed to plant to harvest. We actually eat the vegetables that we grow. One thing that I did with them one time was I went and I bought store-bought vegetables for them to compare store-bought to the vegetables that we actually grew at school. And it was a 50-50 who liked which one better than the other, but it just gave them a chance to compare it. And I think the coolest thing for me with this is just getting them to eat some vegetables. They'll say, oh, I don't like that, or I've never had that, I don't want that, and I will make every single one of them try it. You got to try it. If you don't like it, you can spit it out, but at least try it. So they've enjoyed radishes. I mean, that's not something that you would see a child enjoy. Broccoli, I mean, they love it. And they will come back and they'll tell me, we went to the store and I showed my mom that these are radishes, and we went and we bought some, and I showed her how to eat them and how to slice them. And so it's neat to bring that to them and to their homes as well.
I just think you're gonna find this humorous too. Last year when Jennifer harvested the kale from the grow beds, and there was so much of it, so she bagged it up in baggies and she sent it home with one of her groups. Well, we had a fight on the bus because one of the kids was sneaking and eating his kale, and he shared some with another little boy, and he wanted some more, and he couldn't give it to him. That's consequence here. So, I just thought nobody's gonna believe what's
Fighting
going
over
on
vegetables.
there.
And kale, of all things kale. Any questions?
I'd just like to say, I think that's a great idea that you all are doing. Y'all doing a great job, and I wish they'd had stuff like that when I was in school.
Right.
I would enjoy it a lot more better. But the other question I have, what happens to the fish? Well, I know what happened to the goldfish, but
Well, yeah.
what do you do with the tilapia?
The tilapia, we were gonna harvest them, we were gonna have a fish fry at school. And we just grew too attached to them to actually do it. So we ended up giving them away, and somebody else ate them. So I didn't want to know about it.
Should have called me.
Well, we've got some catfish now. When the catfish are ready to go, if you want to come and get them.
Yeah, but and the second question I have is, has this project been showcased on UNC TV?
We've had television coverage, we've had DPI down, we've had 2 or 3 television news stories. Mr. Holmes has had print media out there. We've had very, very good coverage.
What I would like to see is, I know on the UNC TV, they do those showcases on different things from North Carolina. I would love to see this showcased on UNC TV.
That would be neat.
Yeah, however that's made to happen, Mr. Holmes or whoever.
We'll work on that.
Outstanding. We're in the same, yeah.
You see that greenhouse, I mean, the outdoor classroom, for instance, the greenhouse, that's $10,000 cash. And teachers, through their extra efforts and writing grants, and they put together, right, Ms. Hardy, 2 different grants, they put together matching money with the challenge grant and the other grant. Combined to form that, and everything you see there. When we say everything, is every single thing that she has shown you, plus something she didn't. You didn't show them the musical instruments too.
I did not.
But everything, they've made that happen through the extra effort of staff members. And the tiller that she tills it with, that was another grant.
That was the one I just received, was the tiller, yeah.
She was excited that day. I showed up, she thought I was bringing a tiller, and it was just us.
So one other thing I didn't mention, we do have grow lights in the greenhouse as well. And what we've done with that is we've shown them the difference between artificial lighting and natural lighting. Because there is a difference. Because just, the greenhouse, yes, the light does filter through there, but it doesn't allow the plants to get as green as they could. So we introduced some grow lights in there, and that has really made a big difference. And I'm going to leave you with this story. So we had some Girl Scouts come up. They have to do their different little projects, and they came out one day after school, and we planted some flowers so they could get their planting badge. And I took them around back and showed them everything. And we had the rabbits at that point and the chickens. And this one little girl looks at me and she said, "Is this a school?" And I said, "Yeah, this is an elementary school." "Well, my goodness, we don't have anything like this at my school." So it was pretty neat.
She want to transfer.
About how many kids get to participate?
K through 5, and I think what are we up to about?
About 505 is what we were kind of hovering at, and every child does it. And one thing to mention too, if you saw the rabbit hutches, and that was an EC teacher that wrote that grant and that had those hutches designed, our self-contained children, EC children, manage the rabbits. They feed, they water, they clean the little houses, they pet them, they love them, whatever. So everybody has a hand in something.
What's going to happen to the rabbits and the chickens?
Well, the chickens, I think we've already switched out one group.
We still have some. We have had a big rooster, and his name was Mr. Clucks, but we added a new flock recently. We added some biddies, and Mr. Clucks and the biddies didn't quite get along like we wanted to. So Mr. Clucks is now living with private residents. He's not in a pot. He's we just have 3 of the original hens, laying hens that are there, and they're still laying, and we're raising another batch activities. And so what we do there is we collect eggs each day. When we collect a dozen, then we sell them to a staff member, and that's kind of what we bank to buy chicken feed.
Okay.
We kind of try to make it as self-sustainable as possible.
And you're teaching
during-
kids about that agribusiness, that basic agribusiness. That was very impressive when the news stations came. That was one of the things they were impressed by. DPI was also impressed by that.
And during the summer, right now, no kids are there, so all the fruits of Jennifer's labor, we're enjoying. There's one tomato in that grow bed right now, and it has taken over both the grow beds, and I bet it has 50 tomatoes on it. And it just grows like it's on steroids.
They are, yes, they are on
So when the
steroids.
kids are gone, there's nobody there to sample the goods. We don't have any problem sampling it ourselves.
So we invite all of the board members down to Pink Hill for an individual tour. I think you'll be impressed.
Congratulations.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hardy.
I believe we'll stay with Ms. Herring.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to present to you tonight new standards that have been adopted by the Department of Public Instruction for math and English language arts. They were voted on and approved in June of 2017, and we have been working all year to convert our curriculum guides to reflect the changes. So I'm trying to get this.
Is this gonna be as exciting as the?
I'm afraid it won't be as exciting as chickens and rabbits.
No rabbits.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. So I'll start here with English language arts. The standards were introduced in 2017 for implementation in the 18-19 school year. You'll notice on the side there are instructional practices in the ELA classroom, English language arts. And these were extended and adjusted, and they're also instructional practices for mathematics. But the ELA instructional practices had the most transformation. So it's really important. We've spent time, we will be introducing these to our teachers before school starts. The instructional practices themselves are not intended to be an add-on or to be extra work. They're inherent to allow teachers to align the ELA instruction to the standards. It allows, when teachers are creating their lesson plans, to be standards focused and allow for text-centered teaching and learning. We've had a team of teachers, our grade span directors have worked really closely with teams of teachers by grade span to come together, and they've been working over the last couple of weeks intensively to revise and update our curriculum guides for the North County Public Schools to reflect the extended content standards, which is what the state is calling the updated standards, the extended content standards for English language arts in kindergarten through 12th grade. So for this, there's two main changes that's occurred in the English language arts curriculum K-12. And I have a link, I'll show you the content standards. I'm not going to read them to you because they're very extensive. And then the continuum guide I am going to share with you just so you have an idea of what the actual changes will look like. But the language standards 1 and 2 were revised to include 2 continuums, and these are the main changes. One of the continuums is for grammar and the other is for conventions and language. So the skills within each continuum are arranged by grade band rather than by grade. To allow for multiple layers of practice. So the way it's, so in creating the continuum, the particular standard is addressed all the way through and not just, you don't just learn, for example, subject-verb agreement in 2nd grade and you never talk about it again. It's allowed for a continuum. Allows for multiple years of practice, differentiation, allows for scaffolding of the standard as needed for every student. In the lower grades, in the lower bands, the teacher's introducing and modeling the skill. So that's how it's introduced, say in K2. And in the higher grade of the band, students are actually applying the skill in more complex text. And as they work towards mastery, hopefully in high school. And the continuum guide is here. So this is on the North Carolina DPI website. It's for implementation for this upcoming school year. But what you'll notice, this is a long document, so I want to actually get to page 40, which I think is the most important. And you'll notice, it's very intensive, but RL is reading literature. You have RI, which is reading for informational text. The standards are, as you can see, they're very intensive. So when we ask teachers to write standards-based lessons, these are the standards that they're working with, and it's important that they are all covered through the year. Truly not to bore you to death, but I just wanted to show you page 40 really has the best visual, I think, for you. So just to show you the grammar continuum. So you see here the skill on the left is subject-verb agreement, for example. And then they've broken it up by the span of the grade. So subject-verb agreement is addressed now through a continuum. So it starts in kindergarten and then it goes all the way through high school. And the way the continuum, the way the strand has been established here, and this is what is new, is how it is to be addressed in each of the grade spans. And so this is sort of an overview for teachers to see, and of course the standards, actual standards go into much more detail. And our teachers have been charged with studying the new continuum for grammar and language, and making sure that it fits our curriculum guides and that they're taught and addressed in all the grade levels, because originally it was not taught in a continuum like this. Mathematics is generally taught in a continuum, but English language arts has not always been addressed that way. So those are the two major changes in English language arts. So let me go back to my record. So that's the major changes in English language arts. The mathematics content standards are much more robust, I think is the best way to explain it. And in talking to our math teachers as they have been working through the new math standards and the revisions, to someone who was not a trained mathematician, it doesn't maybe look that bad, but it is a very intensive process, actually. The changes are pretty significant. And they have been working, the state has been working for several years on these revisions, and we have had teachers from Lenoir County that have been asked to be part of this process in the Department of Public Instruction over the last 2 to 3 years. So we have had, our district has been represented actually very positively in the revisions of the math standards for North Carolina. We have, again, brought teams of teachers together by grade span. They started over the last 2 weeks to reconstruct our curriculum guides to reflect the changes made to the mathematics standard course of study. And we also have on our calendar ongoing revisions that will be made throughout the year and monitored by our grade span directors. The work is so in-depth that we've had to set ourselves up in sort of chunks. So we've got revisions made that will get us through the first 9 weeks, and then during the first 9 weeks we're going to come together and work on the second 9 weeks. But we have a framework for the whole year, but the task is monumental. And DPI has also been working with us all over the state. And they have had sessions for our teachers and for directors to attend to help understand and to help us implement the new mathematics content standards. And over the past, this past week, because the changes are fairly significant, we've been working over the last several years with a math consultant named Mr. Jason Adair out of Georgia. And he came and worked with our teacher leader groups last week to assist in the revisions. Just to give you a link to the major revisions at a glance, this is the document created by the Department of Public Instruction. The general changes are listed and bulleted at the top. As you go through the document, the general changes are the same in every section. But of course, as it's listed, you got kindergarten first and second, and then it goes to third, fourth, and fifth. And you see it gets more and more involved. They've removed some standards from certain grade levels and put them in other grade levels, which of course impacts our curriculum guides significantly. And so we have to work very closely to make sure our guides are reflecting the changes that were made to the math curriculum. But what has happened here is many of the standards that have had multiple parts were rewritten using bullets to make the expectations clear and concise. The language was incorporated into standards to add clarity of expectations. Some examples were removed from the standards, and they were replaced in what are new instructional support documents that didn't exist necessarily before. They removed footnotes from the standards and placed them in the standards or in the instructional support documents. And they combined some standards, which according to conversations with the grade span directors as they've been working with teachers, has really been a mind shift for our teachers, combining standards to make the expectations more concise, while they separated other standards for clarity. And they also changed the cluster headings, and they've tried to eliminate any need for interpretation of a standard. So it covers through, it's K-8, and so this is at a glance how the mathematics standards have been addressed. Okay, and lastly, we've spent many a day and many an hour, many a week in changing our curriculum guides to reflect these changes in the math curriculum. But we also know it's one thing for us to do it, but it's yet another for us to roll it out to our staff. And so with our new calendar, August 13th through the 17th has been designated as professional development days for the district. And so we have a very extensive professional development calendar that we are creating for that week for our staff across the district. But during that week, we will include sessions for all of our teachers to attend on the changes to the math and the English standard course of study. And we will also at that time share with them the curriculum guides and how they've been impacted by these changes. But it's also important not only for our teachers, but it's also important for our principals to be aware, because they review lesson plans every week. And in reviewing lesson plans, they ensure that the lesson plans are aligned with curriculum guides that we've created. And so during our retreat in July, in 2 weeks, we are including sessions for our principals on these changes to the math and English language arts standard course of studies, and how the curriculum guides are going to be impacted, so that when they're using the guides during their walkthroughs and lesson plan reviews, they will also be very well informed. And through this course of the year, we have dates on our calendar, we call them check-in dates, with our teacher teams that we've established through the month of July and early August to ensure preparation of this week, August 13th. So the work is hard, and we definitely have our noses to the grindstone, as they say. It's not done, but we have a plan for completion. So if you have any questions, I will be happy to address them.
Any questions? All right, thank you. I believe we'll keep you right there for summer 2018 programming summary.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Let me pull that up. So every summer we have a really wonderful time. I know that I've had the pleasure of presenting to you all about our summer programming in the past, and so this is an overview of our programming for this summer. And the first summer programming I wanted to share with you is our Read to Achieve camps, which are legislative. This year, we always have 2 sites for Read to Achieve, and we rotate the schools every summer to kind of spread the love. This year, Read to Achieve is at Moss Hill Elementary, and it has circled back around to Northeast Elementary. We've changed the dates a little bit. It actually doesn't begin until July the 9th, and that has really sort of simplified our payroll and budgeting because we have the beginning of the new fiscal year begins July the 1st. So this has provided us with some, it's really sort of cleaned up the process. But it'll run July 9th through August 2nd. The day for the children is from 8 to 1. Of course, we provide breakfast and lunch. We pick them up and we take them home. It includes first, second, and third graders. This is paid for and has been from the beginning from a state allotment it's an allotted budget from Raleigh, and it's a formula. So they look at our students based on DIBELS data and TRC data and estimate how many students would be eligible, and that's how they budget the drop for us. And it comes generally, I think, maybe in January or February, when they give us the allotment. And we immediately begin ordering the supplies and getting ready. Right now, we approximate about 200 students enrolled, which is right on course for what we've done every summer. We have on average of about 100 students at each site, give or take. Sometimes it starts off at 120 at the beginning of the session and might dwindle down a little bit, but that's just to be expected. But I think we're going to have a really strong turnout this year. It's really going to be exciting. We have totally revamped the Read to Achieve curriculum this summer. We have had a really large push in the last year to incorporate leveled literacy intervention in our K1 and 2 classrooms. So we're beginning with a focus on making sure our children are meeting their phonics needs. The data indicates that our students really are struggling with phonics awareness. And the LLI, Leveled Literacy Intervention, helps us address that. We had a grant, MBT3 grant through the College Board, and it provided some really outstanding professional development over the last year for our primary teachers. And so we're expanding that throughout the schools, and we knew we had a really great opportunity to incorporate and fold that into our Read to Achieve camp. And so the LLI will be part of their daily instruction. It's a real powerful short-term intervention. It's daily, it's intensive. It encompasses a small group instruction. It's not going to be a whole group that's going to bring children in small groups. And you work with leveled books. It's a fast-paced, systemically designed lesson. So you find the book that the child is at the level where they are reading, and then you work systemically to push that child to increase their grade level reading. We are having direct, explicit instruction this summer to improve reading and writing skills. And I say direct, explicit because we don't want any misconceptions that, we put students on an iPad and they just do, reading apps for 2 or 3 hours, and then we feed them and send them home. This is direct instruction by primary teachers with lesson plans very explicit, very specific to the child. We've also included a writing block of instruction. We've not had that in the past. And we're going to, this summer with the children, we're going to focus on narrative writing. And that's also been part of the overhaul of the ELA curriculum standards, is including a very specific writing. The standards for writing have been evolved somewhat. And we are also, our expectation in scheduling working on master schedules for our elementary schools next year, the expectation is that there will be a very specific writing block for our elementary students. And then we will, of course, have technology integration. All the students have their iPads in the summer, and we've done that from the very beginning. They'll be working on a program called Seesaw through Apple. They'll be using Epic Books, which is like an online library that we use throughout the year. And we do use a program called Imagine Learning, which is a program we use. It's a Tier 3 intervention that we use with our students who are struggling the most. and we use that during the year. And so we're going to keep that in place this summer. But the focus is definitely on the reading and writing skills for our students. And we are really hoping that we'll see some significant improvements. So we're very excited about this transition. Our next camp that I want to talk about, of course, are our STEM camps. This is our third summer. They'll be held at Continue Savannah again. They are running from June 27th to August the 2nd, but it's really July 9th when we have morning and afternoon programming for all students. These 2 weeks in June have been available, a link to our Teach for America kids, because that camp started sooner than Read to Achieve or the STEM camp. So, but we wanted to have an opportunity for the children who are doing the Teach for America camp in the morning that started last week to have some programming in the afternoon. So that's why we had sort of an abbreviated session last week. And of course, we're still under the Borough's Welcome Fund, as we have a Student Science Enrichment Program Fund. So we're operating, it's over a 3-year period, so the allotted money we have this year from Borough's Welcome is $55,794. We have afternoon sessions, we have morning sessions, and they're week-long. So we have specifically 210 students registered, but of those 210 students that are registered with multiple registrations, we have 724 camp sessions. So we have students that are registered for multiple camps, some in the morning, the afternoon, both. Maybe they've registered for 3 or 4 sessions, or maybe they've registered for 8 or 9. So we're very excited about our numbers and our participation this year. The program is for elementary and middle school students, and that's been what we've been able to maintain the last several summers. We also are partnering with 4-H again this year. We did that last year. It went really beautifully, providing breakfast and lunch and transportation. So these are the camps that we're offering. We've broken it up by grade span. So the K2 programming are the Dash and Dot robots, and they're these small circular robots, and there's levels of robots, and the Dash and Dot is sort of the first learner's level. There's 2 camps of the Dash and Dots. There's also a camp called STEM in Motion, Get Your Hands Dirty, which 4-H teachers come in and conduct those. And then the iSTEM, we call it iSTEM, U-STEM, we all STEM, which is it's a prolonged session that students can do. It's the one that's offered all summer, every week. And that generally includes our Read to Achieve and our Teach for America summer camp kids, but any child can register for it. And our 3rd through 5th grade programming, we start with the coded session. We do robotics. It's the next level of robots after the Dash and Dots. We have 2 camps of that. And this is where we would start with our Science Olympiad teams, because we have Science Olympiad teams in elementary, middle, and high schools. And so we allow the Science Olympiad teams to come in the summer, and they can kind of start getting ready for the year. And then, of course, we offer our iSTEM, U-STEM, we all STEM. And then for our middle school programming, we have a camp called Make It Come Alive, and that's 3D printing. It's really, really cool. They have about 6 or 7 3D printers at Continue Savannah in the STEM lab, and they work with those. 4-H offers a forensics camp. Again, we have Science Olympiad camps, and then the Robotastic Robotics, and that's the big robots, the Lego robots, and they have a sumo wrestling competition event. It's a very big deal. Very big deal. So, and of course, you all are invited to the competition at the end. But what's really fun about our STEM camps is we're able to bring in a Golden Leaf intern, and we've had her for 2 years already. It's Lorraine Kelly, and she's from Pink Hill, and she's come and worked with us and is absolutely magnanimous. And the way that works is Golden Leaf pays her to participate in our STEM camp. And she has just, she's just wonderful, and everyone sings her praises, so if you know her. She's an early college graduate, so, yes, indeed. And then and as you know about our NC State TIP scholars that have chosen us is Ashley Lawson and Katie Morgan. And part of their summer internship this summer is they will be working at the STEM camps for us. They've been working with us in June. They've been here since the first week in June, and they've been helping us with our curriculum guide revisions. And Ms. Jones has been working on the coding grant, and they'll be working on that with her next week. So we've kept them very busy in June, but in July they'll be at the STEM camp. So that's been very exciting. The Teach for America Summer School, we're really fortunate. It's our third summer in the row, partnering with Teach for America. That's also held at Continue Savannah. And that began June 27th, and it ends July 26th. We have 300 students enrolled for the Teach for America camp, and that's a really solid number. That they wanted 300, they would have loved between 300 and 400, so we were really excited to reach that. It covers kindergarten through 5th grade students. I don't know if you had an opportunity, but there was an article in the Free Press about our Teach for America Summer School. So if you didn't get a chance to read it, it is right there, so you can enjoy that link when I know you want to go back through all these presentations and reread it. We have 37 Teach for America Corps members training in Kinston this summer. They have 2 summer residential training sites. They have one here, and they have one in Northampton County. There's 37 of the Corps members who are training here this summer. They're living in Kinston. They're renting houses in Smart Kinston. They're, going to the farmer's market, and they're going downtown and eating, and they're getting to know Kinston, and they're going to the Arts Council.
That's Mitchelltown, Smart Kinston, the artist community.
The artist
there at Stephen
community.
Hill.
Yes. And we also have
Very
our
impressive.
TIP scholars are living there with them too. As a matter of fact, we had so many that Mr. Hill, Stephen Hill, with Smart Kinston had to buy some more houses so that we could have room for all of them. So that was a really great problem to have. We appreciate him doing that. There's a focus on math and literacy skills because in the morning, the Corps members have the summer school, and in the afternoon, they are in school to be teachers. We provide transportation. That's really our only cost is the transportation to pick the children up and take them home. And we provide breakfast and lunch for them. The last summer experience I'm going to share with you is already done and over. It's what we call our short summer school. We've done it now for a couple of summers. The state allows LEAs to retest students, EOG and EOC, if they have not reached proficiency. And many years ago, we didn't have the opportunity to retest, weren't allowed to retest, and then they said, oh, you can retest, but we're not going to pay for it. So, of course, that creates some inequities because you have some larger districts that can really have a robust retesting opportunity. But we take this very seriously, and we allocate money out of our Title I funds, our carryover funds, to make sure we're able to offer this. This is critical for us to offer this short summer school and have students the ability to retest in the EOGs or EOCs. We provide transportation. It only runs for 4 days. So it's 3 half days of review, instruction, where you're working on test taking skills and test stamina. And we do that the 13th, 14th, and 18th of June this year. And then on the 19th, that was our testing day, our retesting day. We feed them breakfast and lunch. It runs from 8 to 12. The children go to their home schools. So we have these short summer school sessions in each of our schools. The students that were eligible, or those students that were 5 points from reaching a level 3, which is proficiency on EOGs or EOCs. And parent permission is required. That students are not mandated to retest if they did not reach a level 3. So this is sort of an overview. 680 retests were administered. They were in every grade and subject area. We retested in 3rd grade math. We're not allowed to retest in 3rd grade reading because of the Read to Achieve camp. They retest at the end of the camp, and that's mandated by legislation. So we retest in 3rd grade math. We retest in 4th through 8th grade reading and math. And then the 3 tested EOCs in high school. So that's Math 1, Biology, and English 2. Overall, district proficiency levels increased in every grade and subject after the retest. So I didn't bring it to you broken down by school. It's pretty intensive. If you would like to see that, I'd be more than happy to provide it for you. But overall, in all the retest subject areas, we had an increase. We had more proficiency. So we were.
What was it, like 5, 10, 15%?
So some of them were larger than others. So some, like say 4th grade reading may have gone from 45% proficiency to 50% proficiency. So it depended on the grade level and the subject, the percentage. Some are greater than others. I did want to add a caveat though here at the bottom is that we won't know our overall proficiency for the district for several months. ESSA, September, October, it's always in the fall before the official our test results are approved and verified by the board in Raleigh. The ESSA indicators also include, and this is all new, English learners' progress in kindergarten through 12th. We include ACT scores and the ACT worksheets we've done in the past. And of course, growth isn't calculated till the fall. So there's so many missing pieces for us at this time that I can't tell you, I can't give you anything indicative of.
But we did have, retesting did yield last year, at least one school, it yielded positive results across the board. Different school systems have different feelings about retesting and the degree to which they feel that they need to invest in it, but we believe that it's very valuable and we invest in it heavily. Retesting did account for at least one school in our district last year changing letter grades and moving up. So we've seen benefits from it.
It's valuable.
How does your 680 number this year compare with last year?
The what?
Sir.
Your 680 this year.
You know,
That's
that's
just
good.
the
I
portion
did not ask Mr. Corey to give me the numbers for last year, but I can find out.
I would like
Yes, sir. I don't know, but I can easily find out. And again, it is, we send a letter home to parents, and then we always follow up with a phone call from teachers encouraging participation, because it's not mandatory, but it's very important, and so we appreciate what we get done. So.
In our district over the last few years, honestly, that's something we've talked to the board about, we've said in previous board presentations and in work sessions. Our district over the last several years has not done much. We've done the required, if anything was required with retesting, we did that. If not, if it was optional, we didn't do a lot with that. That was a philosophical stance, neither good nor bad. We just believe that retesting is a valuable opportunity for young people. And we certainly have tried to invest in it, and we've seen some positive results from that.
If you have any questions, I'll get the retest numbers for you, Mr. Anderson. I'm 67.
If you say you've done this for the last 3, do all 3.
Sure. I'd be happy to do that.
All 3 years.
Thank you, Ms. Zhang.
You're welcome.
All right,
Concludes my report.
Our next presentation item will be our policy revisions. Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Board of Education, tonight I'm presenting for your initial review, for your first reading. The policies, these have come through our subscription with the North Carolina School Boards Association, their review service with their recommendations. And we're submitting it tonight for your initial reading to be considered at a subsequent meeting.
What was the last set?
We read them last week.
Different set.
I mean, we read them last month. They're right, they're in the action.
Any questions?
This is different batch.
Initial reading?
It's a different batch, yeah.
All right, we'll move on to our last presentation item, which will be our financial report. Mr. Adams.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. The June financial report is presented with budget year-to-date activity as of June 30th for all funds, as well as our Fund 2 local current expense fund balance as of June 30th. It is unadjusted at this time. We don't have all of our year-end accruals recorded throughout the process of the audit. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Good.
Thank you.
Stay there.
He's got your budget amendment.
He's staying.
Okay.
Thank you. Budget amendment number 5 is used to revise the working budget
always
of the
do that.
17-18 fiscal year. As you'll recall, the last budget amendment, we included some language that allowed the board to approve the budget after the changes were done. A detail of those changes are presented in the background information. State Public School Fund received some additional allotment revisions during June, as well as Federal Grants Fund. There was a 17-18 reallocation to Title I and Student Support Grant. The local capital outlay funds change is to record the revenues received from the surplus sale of our Apple lease. The lease refresh in spring of 18, those are the revenues we received from those sales. Next is school food service funds. An additional appropriation was required due to activity exceeding the original budgeted amount for the fiscal year. And finally, other local current expense funds. We're reporting some Medicaid cost settlements that were received during June, as well as an NC Tobacco Trust improvement grant that was written by a teacher at North Lenore High School, but it was received by enough number of school districts that it was required to be recorded in PRC 424. Do I have any questions?
Any questions? Do I have a motion to accept the amendment?
So moved.
Mr. Anderson?
Second.
Second by Mr. Woods. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. All right, you're up again.
Next, thank you, the 18-19 budget resolution. The 18-19 budget reflects the State Public School Fund initial allotments. Local current expense fund reflects the current county appropriation and estimated fines and forfeitures. Federal grants funds are based on planning allotments and actual carryover amounts. Capital outlay fund reflects current lottery funds and half-cent sales tax revenues, as well as rebudgeted amounts from incomplete projects from the 17-18 year, as well as excess funds received from the sale of our leased equipment. School food service is prepared with anticipated revenues, and trust fund budget is prepared using actual amounts as of July 1, 2018. Other local current expense is prepared using anticipated revenues and actual carryover amounts. A detailed budget is provided for all funds, as well as our budget resolution. As you'll recall, we typically pass our our budget resolution in September with an interim budget covering us for those months. But with the state having finalized their budget in early June, we were able to go ahead and pass the budget resolution in July.
Move to approve the 2018-19 budget resolution as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Motion carries. All right, our next action item will be the Baptist Children's Home of North Carolina lease agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Board of Education submitted to you tonight for your consideration and hopefully your approval is a contract with Baptist Children's Homes. The contract is very similar to the one that we have had now for 2 lease cycles. The only difference is, and Ms. Weiler can weigh in on this, but the only difference is instead of an automatic, we flip the default language. Instead of an automatic, instead of both party, one of either party having to notify the other one at the end of each year. It's a 3-year lease, but really it's a series of 1-year leases. So at the end of each year, the other one or the other can notify the other, that we want to end the lease, terminate the lease, and that's possible, certainly. But we flip that language to be that it automatically will not renew at the end of the first year unless one or both parties notify the other that they'd like to go in a different direction. And this is reflective of some of the conversations the board has had about possibly wanting to consider other options and things like that. So basically, this would just, it's really a change without a change, but the language does provide you with more impetus to discuss the matter and sort of think that it's not automatically renewing, but instead it's automatically not renewing, so you would have to vote to do that.
It does take written amendment by both parties to renew.
Right.
But the same terms would apply, so you still have the same, there would be locked into the same rate.
And it's the same agreement with the same terms and conditions and the same amount. You've got down there $7,583.33 per month, total of $91,000 per year for the building. Tonight we're recommending that you approve this, and of course this really has a built-in out for either party during the year or at the end of each of the years. So we're recommending that you approve this tonight, and then if you have other thoughts during the year as we move forward with these discussions or with work sessions, regular session or work sessions, that and you wanted to go a different direction with this lease, you certainly have the options built in to do that along the way.
Any questions for Mr. Williams?
So this requires a 30-day notice by either party?
It doesn't, oh, you mean in terms of during the term of the lease?
If you want to terminate the agreement.
During the term of the lease, there is a termination clause, but at the end of the first year, it automatically terminates, and it does not continue unless both parties renew with a written amendment.
Which is the exact
Whereas
same.
the previous one
except
was
for automatic renewal.
Yeah, the other one was it automatically renewed for one-year terms for 2 one-year terms unless either party gave notice of termination within 30 days of the end. That no longer is there.
I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Davis, second. Second? Anyone?
Second.
Mr. Hill, second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. 6-1. Our next action item will be our policy revisions. On the list.
Yes, sir. Tonight, we have back those items, the list from last month that you had and was tabled at the last meeting for study with action to be taken at this board meeting. So we're bringing it back tonight for action. And these are in response again to recent legislative action.
There's a few of them that I want to make sure I was reading correctly.
Okay.
It would appear that the harassment and bullying has the most changes as I read them. But in policy 9400, am I looking at it correctly? The only change to that one was by adding the words "and art 6G." That's all I saw in there. Is that correct, Carol?
It is, yeah.
Okay. And I think this is the bus policy. It was 6321. Looks like that they just took out the words ordinarily, where it says students will ordinarily be assigned, and just say students will be assigned. So it makes it more definite that the purpose of that.
Right.
Okay. And in 3300, I like part of that policy as well. Policy 3300, November is designated as Veterans History Awareness Month. So I thought that was a great addition to the policies. And school safety, I didn't see any changes. Was that like a new policy or new revision or what?
Which number is that, Mr. Smith?
The school safety.
There's 3 different policies.
I see.
Yeah, I didn't see any actual changes, so.
It's a misspelled word in D1.
D1, okay,
It adds visitors to D4.
okay, that's what I missed. I must have missed the other part of it.
Changes and revisions as well.
Any other discussion? May I have a motion to approve the policy revisions?
Motion to approve the North Carolina School Board Association policy revision as presented.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Smith? All in favor of approving the policy revisions, please raise your right hand. Motion carries. All right, we will now discuss our calendar adjustment. Ms. Herring.
Yes, sir, thank you. The approved 18-19 calendar had 213 days for certified employees, and general statute requires 215. And this equates to 21 and a half days for each employee, for each 10 months of employment. And so we were short 2 days for the certified staff. And so as a solution, 2 optional work days have been added to the end of the school year on June 26th and 27th. On June 6th and 7th, 2019. So we, in reviewing the other calendars that went with this type of calendar, that one that we went with, they had also done the same thing. And so in order for us to have 215 days, we need to add those 2 optional work days at the end. Respectfully ask that the board.
We have a motion to approve the calendar adjustment as written.
Motion to approve the 2018-19 calendar with adjusted work days.
Mr. Hill, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Davis? All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed?
Thank you.
Out-of-state school field trip, we have one.
Thank you. We have one request. The Migrant Education Department has requested to take approximately 15 to 20 students to Myrtle Beach. They'd like to go to medieval times this year. Last year they saw a presentation on Tesla, and it is, they've tied it to Central Standards in Social Studies and the Age of Exploration and fashion. They've done a very good job of doing that. It's a culmination activity for the students at the end of their summer learning experience that we offer at Pink Hill for them every summer. And so they will be traveling by one of our light activity buses. So we would like for you to approve the trip for these students. They'll be going July 26th, and they'll go there and back in one day.
Move to approve the out-of-state field trip request.
Mr. Smith, have a second?
Second.
Mr. Woods? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Next action item will be our application for CTE state and federal funding.
Good evening.
Evening.
I am requesting approval of the 2018-19 application for state and federal funding of the Career and Technical Education Program. This application must be submitted to DPI in order to receive and use state and federal funds for CTE programs and services. These funding codes include PRC 13, PRC 14, and PRC 17. Successful applications will yield approximately $2.9 million for the program, which includes all of our staffing costs. The local plan and the LCPS technical attainment plan are attached to your documents for your review. The technical attainment plan is part of our application. This was presented last month as an information item.
Any questions for Mrs. Jones? Can I have a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve the 2018-19 application for CTE state and federal funding as presented.
Mr. Hill, I have a second.
Second.
Mr. Anderson? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you.
And you're still up with our
I am.
project house at South Lenore.
Yes. Tonight, I'm requesting that you approve the bill of sale for personal property, which involves our South Lenore High School Live Project House to the highest bidder. The house sale auction was held on Saturday, June 30th, 2018. We had 2 people bidding on the house, and the closing bid for the house was $84,000, which represents a profit for us.
And that's a record total, by the way.
That's
That's good. Sometimes we barely cover the cost of materials.
84,000.
And those houses have sold for anywhere in the 50s, anywhere in the 60s is really good. 84 was outstanding. I was doing cartwheels on Saturday.
2 years ago, the same, pretty much the same size house sold for $69,000, so this is a great result.
84 is very good. So it's 1,700 square feet. It's a very large house by comparison. Many of the houses built by high schools in eastern North Carolina are in the 1,400 square foot range. So that was large as those houses go, and we're very proud of it. So I think they've set a new standard. I remember last year we built the tiny house, so in fairness, we do have to remember this stretches over a 2-year period. So we had the profits from the tiny house last year and this house, because they really had this house together last year, so it's not 2 consecutive years of selling a full house. Last year we sold the tiny house, and this year, but we're back on schedule to have a full-size house for the company.
So we will build.
Does this have to go through the upset bid process? Just like,
The upset bid language was taken out of the resolution for sale 2 years ago, or prior to my becoming the CTE director, so it does not. The tiny house did have to go through the upset bid process, but this one did not.
So we had to approve that. Make a motion to approve the bill of sale for the South Lenore High School Live Project House.
second.
Second by Mr. Hill. All in favor, please raise your right hand. That motion carries, and congratulations, South Lenore, that's great.
Thank you. The homeowners
Well
are
done.
very excited, so I'm excited for them too. Thank
Young
you.
couple bought it, they're very excited.
No warranties.
And we get to come to Mr. Harvey and one of my favorite items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For your viewing pleasure. North Carolina High School wishes to dispose of the old tobacco barn on the visitor side of the football field. Any proceeds from the sale will be returned to the school. I've attached the photo.
Trying to understand the
It's been tagged, right?
South Lenore.
It's been tagged.
It's been tagged.
It's been tagged.
So by sale, I guess you mean surplus metal.
That's it. Yeah, it's got holes in it.
Do we have a buyer for this?
Probably go to a recycle bin somewhere.
Move to approve the surplus item.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Davis. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Do we have a motion to move to closed session?
I move that the Lenore County Board of Education go into closed session under North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult with the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Davis. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you. We go to closed session. Now we'll ask for a motion to accept.
Move to approve the personnel report with the addendum.
Second.
Mr. Smith, and seconded by Mr. Davis. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries. I have a motion to adjourn.
Move
Oh, I'm
to
sorry, I
adjourn.
apologize.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Williams would
Does
like
he have
to-
an announcement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of announcements. First of all, I would like to announce and to congratulate Ms. Pamela Heath, one of our retired administrators, who will be helping us in an interim capacity effective immediately. She is the interim principal of Southeast Elementary School, so congratulations to Ms. Heath, and we thank her. Until the position will be advertised and filled as soon as possible. Hopefully, we'll have a name at the next board meeting on the 30th, the August board meeting, the 30th of July. Banks Elementary School, Miss Melissa Lynch, if you would stand, please. The current principal of Banks Elementary School, Ms. Melissa Lynch, will move to another position with the North County Public Schools. She has been selected to be the Digital Learning Instructional Coordinator / AIG Coordinator. It's a position she knows well because she held that position before becoming principal of Banks. Melissa has done a great job at Banks. As principal of Banks, I want to be very clear about that. She's done an outstanding job at Banks Elementary School. She has my full confidence and the full confidence of this board. Melissa has requested this move. She requested to interview for the position, and certainly she was selected. But she's done a great job at Banks, and certainly would be welcome to continue there for indefinitely. So she's done great. Melissa, congratulations to you. Would you like to say anything to the board?
I just appreciate the support, as always, of the board.
Okay. And Melissa, thank you. Melissa will remain at Banks Elementary School at least through the month of July, and really as long as is necessary until a replacement can be selected and named, and then even some transition time will be placed in there. So certainly want the school taken care of. Thank you, Melissa. Ms. Tracy Cole, Ms. Cole, if you would stand. Ms. Tracy Cole, we want to take this opportunity to thank you. She has submitted her letter of resignation. She will be moving to a position with East Carolina University. She'll be directing the lab school programs for ECU in coordination with Pitt County Schools. She's done an amazing job with our district. She's completed her second year with us, first as Director of Middle Grades Education and most recently as Director of Human Resources. So Ms. Cole, those will be big shoes to fill. We thank you for your service to this district, and we will miss you. It's not too late to change your mind. So thank you, Ms. Cole. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my announcements.
Thank you. And I'd like to also, before we adjourn, thank the board for their support. And I look forward to working with everyone as we move forward and continue our progress. So thank each and every one of you. So do I have a motion to adjourn now?
Move to adjourn.
Mr. Sergeant. Do we have a second? Second. Mr. Anderson. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Have a good night.